Vasudev Siddharajya Lakim Dharmischa Arjavadasa Jadagada Ranna Takva Mandalasani Sada Tuchava Bhutvadi Nagane Sato Karunaya Vasudev Mandalapati Sani Sada Tuchava Bhutvadi Nagane Sato Karunaya Popina Kanthasita Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Girivardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Ito Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Ito Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna devotees. All glories to Gurudeva, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Our speaker is not going to be here today, so we're going to be playing Srila Prabhupada's tape, and then we will discuss. So, for whatever reason, Maharaj couldn't be here today. So, we're sorry about that. Let's see here.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Ledanam,
Ledanam,
Vindanam,
Vindanam,
Tripti,
Tripti,
Pranana,
Prana,
Apyayana,
Apyayana,
Andanam,
Andanam,
Tapa,
Tapa,
Apanodaha,
Apanoda,
Bhuyastvam,
Bhuyasvam,
Ambhaso,
Ambhaso,
Vrtayas,
Vrtayas,
Svima,
Svima,
Ledanam, Vindanam, Tripti,
Ledanam, Vindanam, Tripti,
Ledanam, Vindanam, Tripti,
Ledanam, Vindanam, Tripti,
Prananapyayanondanam,
Prananapyayanonam,
Prananapyayanondanam,
Prananapyayanonam,
Tapapanodo Bhuyastvam,
Tapapanodo Bhuyastvam,
Tapapanodo Bhuyastvam,
Tapapanodo Bhuyastvam,
Ambhaso Vrtayastvima,
Ambhaso Vrtayastvima,
Ambhaso Vrtayastvima,
Ambhaso Vrtayastvima,
Ledanam Vindanam Tripti,
Ledanam Vindanam Tripti,
Prananapyayanondanam,
Prananapyayanondanam,
Tapapanodo Tapapanodo bhuyastvam
Tapapanodo bhuyastvam
Ambaso vritayastvima
Ambaso vritayastvima
Ledanam vindanam drupti
Vedanam vindanam tripti
Prananapyayanondanam
Prananapyayanondanam
Tapapanodo bhuyastvam
Tapapanodo bhuyastvam
Ambaso vritayastvima
Ambaso vritayastvima
Ledanam vindanam drupti
Vedanam vindanam tripti
Prananapyayanondanam
Prananapyayanondanam
Tapapanodo bhuyastvam
Tapapanodo bhuyastvam
Ambaso vritayastvima
Ambaso vritayastvima
Vedanam Piranam Tripti
Vedanam vindanam tripti
Prananapya
Ledanam moistening
moistening
Vindanam
Vindanam
coagulating
coagulating
Tripti
tripti
causing satisfaction
causing satisfaction
Pranana
Pranana
maintaining life
maintaining life
Apyayana
Apyayana
refreshing
refreshing
Undanam
Andanam
softening
softening
Tapa
Tapa
heat
heat
Apanodaha
Apanodaha
driving away
driving away
Bhuyastvam
Bhuyastvam
being in abundance
being in abundance
Ambasaha
Ambasaha
of water
of water
Vrutayaha
Vritayaha
the characteristic functions
the characteristic function
Tu in fact
in fact
Ima
Ima
these
these
The characteristics of water are exhibited by its moistening other substances, coagulating various mixtures, causing satisfaction, maintaining life, softening things, driving away heat, incessantly supplying itself to the reservoirs of water, and refreshing by slaking thirst.
Kledanam pindanam tripti pranan appa anandanam tapapunodo bhuyastam ambaso vrittayosu ima. So this is analysis of water. So many things can be performed by water. Everything is being analytically studied. Khiti of Tej Marut bomb. So, but one thing important in this verse is that tapa apanodo, refreshing. Refreshing, when you are thirsty, you drink water, immediately your thirst is satiated and you feel a fresh pleasure. So, in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says that this qualification of the water tapa apanoda. What is that verse? Apoham. Rasoham kaunteya prabhasmi sasisudya. So, this satisfaction, actually our satisfaction can be revived only with relationship of Krishna. Revival of our relationship with Krishna. That is Shanti. Just like Dhruva Maharaj, when he came in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was hankering after material opulence, kingdom, a better kingdom than his father, than his grandfather. That was his ambition as a child. He was insulted by his stepmother. So, actually, when he saw Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, he was so satisfied that he said, Shamin kitarthosmi varangana jati. Now I have no more hankering. So this is also one tapa. In this material world, we are suffering so many varieties of tapa. Tapan bindanti maithunam agaram agya. It is simply full of tapa. Tapa means heat and tapa means unbearable, miserable condition. Therefore from tapa, it comes from tapa, tapasya. Tapasya means voluntarily accepting some unfavorable condition. Of course, the soul is not affected by any favorable or unfavorable condition. Asangayang Purusha. Actually it has no connection with the favorable and unfavorable condition. It is simply abhinivesh, the mind being affected by the material contamination, we are suffering so-called miserable condition of life. It is due to the mind. Otherwise, as it is said, one man is satisfied in a very poor condition of life, and another man is not satisfied even in the best opulent condition of life. Why? It is due to the mind. It is due to the mind. Therefore, whole process of spiritual life or peaceful life, spiritual life is peaceful life. Material life is not peaceful life. Ahankara vimuratma. There are so many varieties of desires in material life. Therefore, one cannot be peaceful. That is not possible. But when one enters into spiritual life means to revive our spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, then we can become happy. That is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita. 3 things, if we learn, what are those 3 things? Bhoktaram jaggutapasam sarvaloko maheswaram suridang sarvabhutanam jnata mam shanti vicchati. Shanti, if we learn these 3 things, then we'll get shanti. Shanti, that is clearly explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. It is said in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, Gyatva mam, me, Krishna says, person, that's like, give me. The Krishna says, Gyatva mam. What is that? We have to know Krishna, that he is actually enjoyer. Master and servant, if the servant knows that in this house my master is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer, I am simply servant, then he is peaceful. But if he artificially tries to become the master, although he is servant there, then there is all disturbance. So, here our miserable conditions are caused by our thinking that I am the proprietor, I am the owner, I am the enjoyer. One becomes to owner, proprietor because he wants to enjoy. So this is our disease. Actually, we are servant of Krishna. Jiver Swarup hoy Nitya Krishna Das. This is our original position. We are servant, even in this condition, but we are servant of Maya, illusion. Means we are servant of our lusty desires, kam, krodh, anger, lobh, greediness, moha, illusion, so many, mada, madness. We are servant of these propensities. We are not master. When you become master of these sense gratification processes, then you are Swami. That is the position of Swami. Swami means master. Goswami. Goswami means this controller of the senses. Go means senses. So Swami or Goswami means one who has control over the senses or one who has control over the mind. The mind is very restless. The whole yogic process is meant for controlling the mind. Because unless you control the mind will volumes of desires, hundreds, thousands, millions, and you have to satisfy them. They are very shanti. You have to satisfy the master who has become your master, mind. Then you are disturbed. There cannot be any peace. And mind has got many millions of desires. Therefore, when you can control over the mind, that mind desires something and you have to control. No, you cannot do it. Then you become Swami. Swami, these sannyasis, they are given the title Swami or Goswami because the sannyasis are supposed to control over the mind, over the senses. Therefore they are called Swami. Otherwise, not Swami, but servant. If you are controlled by the mind, then you are servant. And if you are controller of the mind, then you are Swami, the same person. So how you can become Swami? Because we are falsely thinking that I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer, I am the leader, I am the friend of my family, my society, my nation, so many ways. You have to convert these things. Srida Sarvabhutana, Krishna said that I am the friend of everyone. But we are taking the place of Krishna, leadership, and I am declaring to my countrymen, to my followers, that I am your friend. So actually, I cannot be friend because I do not know what is the goal of life. I cannot lead them properly. Some immediate convenience we can offer, and people being less intelligent, they are after immediate profit. It is called prayer. Just like if you say to a small child, don't go to school, please come and play with me. He would like to play with his friend. That is immediate profit. But if you ask him to go to the school, that is remote profit. That is called Shreya. And prayer. Prayer means immediate profit. two young men, if one friend says to the other friend, oh, let us go to the cinema, that is very palatable. And if he says, let us go to this meeting in Hare Krishna land, and that is not very palatable. This is the distinction between Shreya and Preya. Nishreshaya. Nishreshaya means ultimate goal of life, ultimate profit of life. The ultimate profit of life is to go back to home, back to God. Because we are suffering on account of separation from God. This is our cause of suffering. Instead of becoming servant of God, we have become the servant of senses. That is the cause of our suffering. Therefore, three things, if we can understand thoroughly, that Krishna or God is the proprietor and enjoyer of the whole universe or creation, and Bhoktaram Jagatavasam Sarvo Sarvaloko Maheswaram. He is the proprietor of all universal planets and Sridang Sarvabhutanam. And he is the real friend of everyone. Gyata, one who knows, Krishna says, Mam, me, then he gets Shanti. Otherwise there cannot be any Shanti. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also it is confirmed that Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakuli Ashant Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataev Shant. Krishna Bhakta, one is fully Krishna conscious, he is Shanta, he is fully confident. Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, he is fully confident that Krishna, I have surrendered to Krishna, I have taken shelter of Krishna, and he has promised, Aham tva sarvapa vibhamokkhashami. Then where is the cause of my anxiety? Therefore he can become, he has understood Krishna, the Supreme Personality, Almighty, All-Powerful, full of all opulences. So if he has taken my charge, then where is my anxiety? That is Shanti. That is Shanti. And so long we are taking shelter of Maya, Asat, which will not stay. Suppose we are taking shelter, child is taking shelter of the father, mother, or the citizens is taking shelter of the state, of the government. So one has to take shelter of something else for protection, for security. But they are not actually security, therefore you are always full of anxiety. You may be a citizen of a great state like United States of America, but you are not without any anxiety, because that shelter is not sufficient. That will not stay. Just like recently in America, they had to dethrone Mr. Nixon because they are not free from anxiety. So you cannot become free from anxiety by taking shelter of anything material. That is not possible. Sada samudvigna dhiyam asat graha. Asat and sat. Sat means eternal and asat means temporary. So we are eternal. Na hannate hannamane sarire. We are not annihilated after the annihilation or destruction of this body. Therefore, we have to take shelter of the eternal. then we'll be happy. And so long we shall take shelter of the temporary thing, asat, this material world, material society, friendship, love, state, community, nation, anything you take, they are not permanent. You cannot be happy. But if you take shelter for security at the lotus feet of the Supreme, then you are actually secure. Sada samudvigna dhiyam asatgrahat. Asatgrahat. Asat means this material world. It will not stay. Just like this material body. It will not stay, everyone knows. It has a beginning, birth. It stays for some time. It transforms some other bodies as children. Then it becomes old, dwindling, and then finished. These are 6 different transformations of the material world. But it is temporary, asat. But there is another life where there is no transformation, eternal, nitya sasatayang nahannate hannamane. That is spiritual world. So, that spiritual world, we have no information, but we have got little experience. Spiritual world means complete peaceful, shanti. Bhoktaram jagatamasam sarvalokamayasam. Gyata mam shanti micchati. Therefore, it is a compulsory business of our life to understand God or Krishna. If you want shanti. Gyata mam shanti micchati. If you want shanti, then you have to know God. What is God? Not vague idea. Actually, jnata mang shanti micchati. You have to know. Now, the position is how to know God. How to know God. So God knows, it is very easy. If you don't chant, suppose if I say that by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you will know God. Or you may think that, why shall I chant Hare Krishna mantra? I belong to different religion. Why shall I chant this Hindus Hare Krishna mantra? Then, all right, you do not chant Hare Krishna mantra, but you try to understand God in your daily life. What is that? That satisfaction by drinking water. Rasoham apsukauntiya. Everyone drinks water. Either you become Hindu, Muslim, Christian, you have to drink water. And after drinking water, when you feel satisfaction, as you say, tapo apanado, the tiresomeness immediately diminishes, satisfies. So that satisfaction is Krishna or God. Krishna says. So you haven't got to search out Krishna anywhere. Krishna is within you, God is within you. But still, if you are doubtful, then God says, Krishna says, you try to understand me in this way. Tapo apanadu, the water. Everyone drinks water. Very easy. So, rasoham apsukantiya. Then the beginning, if you do not do anything, just I am trying to convince you about the easy process of Bhakti Yoga. Anyone, everyone, at any place, any condition of life, he can become a bhakta. Ahituki apratihata. This is first class religion, to become devotee of God. Sabai pungsang paro dharma. Jato bhakti adhokhaje. Bhakti, bhakti means loving service. When you develop your dormant love for Krishna and you begin to serve him, that is called bhakti. So this bhakti is the first class religion, paro dharma. All other different kinds of religious system, they are material. I am Hindu, I am Muslim, I am Christian, I am Buddhist. These are all material designation. It is not dharma. Just like gold, gold cannot be Hindu gold, Christian gold, Muslim gold. Gold is gold. There is no question of Hindu gold or Muslim gold. Similarly, dharmantu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharma means relationship with God. So human being in any society, any part of the world, there is a consciousness or sense of understanding God. The method may be different, that is another thing. But the idea is how to know God. Just like Christian, they say, "Oh God, give us our daily bread." So there is relationship. Muslim, they say, "Allahu Akbar." God is great. So, in Hindu conception generally say, Parabrahma, Paramdhama, Pavitram, Paramamba. So any sense you say, there is relationship with God. So unless you revive your relationship with God, which is dormant, there is no shanti. There cannot be any shanti. So try to understand God. Therefore Krishna is canvassing that if you do not take this process, that process, you simply, while drinking water, you think of me, here is Krishna. Here is Krishna. As it is said here, tapo apanatu. Everyone drinks water. So everyone can remember Krishna or God. If you simply learn this art, that while drinking water, while I feel satisfaction, I must know here is God. Your devotional life immediately begins, without any education, without any enlightenment. Every child can, if you teach the child that when you drink water, you think of God. Of course, one must have some knowledge what is God. So that according to different status of life. So here from Bhagavad-Gita or Bhagavad we understand Krishnastu Bhagavan Sam. So Krishna is here in the temple, Krishna is in my room in picture, so that is also not difficult. How easy it is, just try to understand that if drinking water and if I think here is Krishna, and I have seen Krishna in the temple, I have seen Krishna in my room, my father has shown me here is Krishna, then where is the difficulty? And if you think Krishna like that, here is Krishna, that is the beginning of spiritual life. Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, memorizing. So we request everyone to come to the temple because he will have the impression what is Krishna, how he looks. Here is Krishna. It is not imagination. Don't think it is imagination. We have imagined some form, just like the Maharaj say, it is imagination. No, it is fact. Because this Krishna, this form of Krishna, our forefathers, our acharyas, they have seen when Krishna is present on this planet. And there are many old temples the same feature of Krishna, two hands playing on the flute, and anywhere you see Krishna, he has got this flute, because that is his most beloved, favorite instrument. That is stated in the Shastra, not imagination. Venum kannantang aravinda dalayatapsam barahavatang samasita. In the Vedic language, it said Krishna, he has got a flute in his hand. He likes to play on flute. Venum kannantang aravinda dalayatapsam barahavatang samasitam buddhasundara. Barahavatangsa means a peacock feather. He likes peacock feather. These symptoms are described in the Vedic literature. And when Krishna was present on this earth, the same feature was there. So this picture, this photo or this statue of Krishna, this Archamurti, he is not different from the original Krishna. So if you simply come here, take the impression of Krishna and think of Krishna while drinking water, you become a devotee. It is a very difficult job. Very easy. Anyone can do. Anyone can do. Patram puspam phalam toyam jumi bhaktya prajacchati. Then if you develop, this is Santaras. Then when you develop your Santaras, then there is Dasaras. Dasaras means that you want to serve him. That is further development. Here is God. No idea. Therefore, according to the Vedic principle, whoever comes to the temple, he brings something to offer to Krishna. Not that he requires huge amount of money. No. You must offer something. What is that? Krishna says, Patram puspam phalam toyam jomi bhaktya prajacchati. Krishna is not in want, but if you give something to Krishna, that is for your benefit. If Krishna accepts something from you, then your life becomes successful. So, I have no money, what can I offer to Krishna? That is not the fact. We have got money for going to cinema, and you have no money to bring one flower for Krishna. This is denial. This is denial. Krishna does not say that you bring $1,000. No. He says, Patram puspam phalam toyam jomi bhakta prajacchati. So anywhere within this universe, you can get all these things. However poor man you may be. Patram, a little leaf, better tulsi leaf, or any leaf. Patram, puspam, a little flower, phalam, little fruit, a little water. That's all. Jo me bhakta prajacchati. Krishna, he is the bhoktaram jagadapasam sarvalok. He is the proprietor of the whole universes. So why he is asking this patram puspam phalatam? He is so poor. He is not poor. He is the most opulent. But if you begin to give something to Krishna, you become opulent. That is one. Therefore he is canvassing. To give me something. Jat karosi jat juhosi jadasnasi jat tapassasi kurusya tad madarpanam. Because you have forgotten to give to Krishna. Therefore Krishna comes down. Jada jada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharat. He canvasses, please give me something. As if he is in great need of it. He is not in need of it. But if you hear Krishna and if you give something to Krishna, then it is for your benefit. You will understand gradually what is your relationship with Krishna and gradually develop your Krishna consciousness. Then your life is successful. Then your life becomes peaceful. Otherwise, there is no possibility. Otherwise, there is no possibility. Everyone is hankering after peace. But this is the way of attaining peace. To revive your relationship with Krishna, to engage your mind fully in the service of Krishna, in the matter of understanding Krishna. And if you understand Krishna, the books are there, Bhagavad-Gita is there, Srimad Bhagavata is there. You have got your reason, you have got your knowledge. Try to understand Krishna, then your life is successful. Janma karmam chame dibbam ju janati tat. Simply try to understand Krishna. Then from this asat, this temporary life which you are changing one after another, takta dehang punarjanma naiti mameti gavi. You, after giving up this body, this is also temporary body. Asat, the asat. Asat means it will not stay. So, after giving up this body, if you get another body, that is compulsory. Tatha dehantara prati, dhirastatta namayati. Dehantara prati there is. Just like we are getting different bodies in this life, similarly when this body is finished, we get another body. But another body or this body, because this material body, asat, asat graha, because we accept this material, temporary body, there must be suffering, klesha. Or whatever we feel, pains and pleasure, that is due to this body. So this, the best achievement of life is how to stop this getting material body again. Spiritual body. That is happiness. Then you will get eternal happiness, blissful life. Takta dehang punarjanma naiti mameti kauntya. That you go to the spiritual world. There is spiritual world, as here is material world, you have got material body. So if you are fit for going to the spiritual world, then you get spiritual body. Same way. And spiritual body means Sachidananda Vigraha. Spiritual body. Vigraha means body. And Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda, blissful. That we want. The Krishna consciousness movement means to try to understand Krishna. Very easy. If you drink water, Krishna advises, Rasoham of Sukantya, that satisfaction by drinking water, that is Krishna. That's all. You think this is Krishna. You think that I am drinking Krishna. Then twice, thrice Krishna means you become purified. Krishna. Eka Krishna name joto pap hare, papi hoye toto pap koribare nare. Eka Krishna, once chanting of Krishna, it can kill so many reactions of sinful life that you cannot do so many sinful life. A sinful man can do large amount of sinful act, but you cannot do even. So this process, if you adopt, very easy, it is authenticated. We are not manufactured this. It is said in the Bhagavad-Gita, Rasoham of Sukunti. That rasa, that satisfaction by drinking water, that is I am. So why not think of Krishna like that? You drink so many times water, especially in India. You drink water and think of Krishna. You become perfect. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I find this very interesting and very powerful lecture from Srila Prabhupada as usual. So at this point, like I said, we are in this material world, and many unexpected things do happen. So some few minutes to the time of giving the class, Maharaj had a situation that he couldn't be here. So we decided to play this tape. So I had heard from a couple of Srila Prabhupada's disciples who said that Srila Prabhupada is so amazing that whenever he gives a class, he covers everything one needs to know in devotional service. And I find that to be so true, especially in this class. He covered so many topics, like everything one needs to start his Krishna consciousness. So whoever has anything to share from the class, please, you may do so. Let's discuss for a few minutes and then we'll bring the class to an end. I'm happy to see you, Madam Raj. I haven't seen you for a couple of days. I hope everything is okay. Thank you. Anything from any devotee? Hare Krishna. Yes, please unmute. Hello. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandava Pranams.
Jai, all glories to Great Bhagavad Station Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, good to see
Hare
you.
Krishna. Sorry, I couldn't join earlier.
It's okay.
Thank you so much. Happy
Hare-
New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
I
too.
couldn't join earlier, but from the little I've heard, realized something.
Good.
From the lecture,
Yeah.
Prabhupada made it very simple that the Krishna consciousness seems very simple and easy. Just drink water and think of Krishna.
Yeah.
Is it that simple? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes. Krishna consciousness, I oftentimes say, yes, Krishna consciousness is very simple. And excuse me to say, it's easy also. It's simple and easy because Krishna consciousness is just what we do as living beings. But it becomes difficult when there are other people involved. And fortunately or unfortunately, it is better performed, Krishna consciousness is better performed in association of other devotees. And so I remember Srila Prabhupada used to say that man is good, woman is good. When they come together, then they become bad. So I may be good, you may be good in our own little corner, but when we come together because of interactions and our individual natures, it becomes difficult sometimes. Otherwise, Krishna consciousness is not dry, it's very sweet, it's very beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. I am reminded of one thing Srila Prabhupada said. Like I said, he said so many important things. And he quoted Bhagavad-Gita 5:29. I think he quoted that 3 or 4 times because Bhagavad-Gita 5:29 tells us 3 things that we do. And if we do those 3 things, that's the only time that we can find peace. As living entities, we all want to be happy, but we cannot be happy if there is no peace. So in order for us to be happy, we first must have peace. And the formula for having peace is given in Bhagavad-Gita 5:29. And there are three things. Let me see if I can put it on the screen. Let me see here. Excuse me, please. Bhagavad-Gita 5:29. Let's see what it says. Okay, I found it here. So let me show you. Bhuktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka mahesharam suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam shantim richati. Srila Prabhupada quoted this 3 or 4 times in this lecture. And it says, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all loving entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. In other words, there are these things. When we become conscious of Krishna, how do we become conscious of him? As what? As who? Knowing him to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. In other words, whatever inconveniences we go through in life, we understand that the beneficiary is Krishna. And we also understand that he, Krishna, is the supreme lord of all planets and demigods. There are so many demigods, there are so many planets, and he is the supreme of all these planets and the demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. That there is nobody, there is no one who can be a better well-wisher than Krishna in my life. If we have these understandings, then we can have peace. So Srila Prabhupada quoted this.
Again, you don't have your this thing, and then there may be problem, And anyway, come. You have to wait.
So Srila Prabhupada shared this like a couple times, and I find it very interesting because once we are able to acknowledge that there is no better well-wisher than Krishna, and that he is the Supreme Lord. Without him, nothing can take place. And we try in our own little way to serve him based on what we've been taught by our acharyas, by the saints, and senior devotees and the scriptures. Then we are sure to have peace. So Dr. George is asking a question in the chat room because Srila Prabhupada also drew a lot of emphasis on Krishna not being poor, yet he asks us to offer him something. And he asks us to offer him basic things that can be found anywhere, everywhere. Just offer me some leaf. Srila Prabhupada says, preferably offer Lord Krishna Tulsi leaf. But if you cannot offer him Tulsi leaf because of your location, offer him any leaf out of love. Offer him some flour. Offer him some water. offer him some fruit. These 4 things. Anybody can find these 4 things and with love and devotion offer to Krishna. So Bhakta George is asking, please, I would like to know what are the symptoms for one to know that what he has offered to the Lord is accepted. So I don't know if anybody wants to answer that question. How do we know that what we offered to Krishna has been accepted? Shri Hare Chakra, you may go ahead. Your hand is up. Please unmute.
No. My hand is not up for answering that question.
Okay.
My hand is up for a different thing that I wanted to share.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Let somebody answer
Dr.
George's
George.
question. Yeah.
Okay.
Then,
Does anyone want to answer Dr. George's question? Very interesting question. How do we know that what we offered to Krishna has been accepted? I once asked a similar question, that when I cook burger and offer to Krishna, how do I know that the burger we offered has been accepted by the Lord? And there was this amazing devotee, Bhagavad Prabhu. May his soul rest in perfect peace with Krishna. Oftentimes when I cook, he would tell me, "Oh, Saha, you cook this prasadam with full of devotion." And Krishna has accepted it. And I used to think Krishna has accepted it because you like it. What if you didn't like it? Does that mean that Krishna didn't accept it? So I asked this question before. And I remember, somebody could correct me, but I remember the answer was, if devotees appreciate whatever you offered, then it means Krishna has also accepted it. So I do not know if in the case of where there are no other devotees, how then does one tell that what he offered has been accepted by Krishna? Anyone has answer to Dr. George's question? You may unmute and answer before Hare Chakra goes ahead with whatever he has to say. I see Shriman Vara Prabhu is here, Chaitanya Prema Prabhu is here. Who else? I think Salika Prabhu is here.
yeah, I think my little contribution to that is that it's like ordinary, like if someone asks you for a donation. I mean, I'm bringing it to everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes someone asks you for a donation, or sometimes someone doesn't even ask you for a donation, but you see the person's situation and something comes in your heart that you have to help this person. Sometimes you give that help and you feel some sort of full satisfaction just by helping that person. I mean, deep within you feel some satisfaction that, wow. I mean, it's not like you give the help to the person for any ulterior motive. You just feel some satisfaction. Other times you may give the same type of help to another person, and that deep satisfaction will not be there. So personally, I feel that if you do something, if you give something to Krishna, the inner satisfaction that you feel for doing that service is one of the symptoms that shows that Krishna actually has accepted your offer. because you deeply and sometimes you may do some service. It's like that service you did it. You may have done it very grudgingly. It's simply because you have to. Somebody is pushing you to do it. That's why you did it. It's not like you. So within you may be even feeling so angry because you are thinking, oh, this is not my job. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm so grudgingly. So personally, I think that when you do some service, when you offer something to Krishna and you feel some inner satisfaction, something deep within you tells you that I've done this service. You feel some inner satisfaction. Then that will be a sign that Krishna has actually accepted your satisfaction. I also asked this question before, and the person who I don't remember who was giving the class. And the person said, the answer the person gave me was that, he said, if you eat and you are full, or if you eat and the food is nice, how do you know it's nice? How do you know you are full? And the person said, that satisfaction, that realization that the food is nice or you are full, it cannot even be expressed. It's a feeling that you feel. It's a personal feeling. It's not something that you can even express it to a second person, exactly how you feel about it. So personally, I think when you do a similar thing, when you offer something to Krishna, the feeling, that inner peace, that inner feeling that you feel, I think that should tell you that, Krishna really has accepted this one.
Well, thank you. I think most of us can attest to what you're sharing, because at least once or twice we've all had such experiences where you did something seemingly insignificant to help somebody and you felt so much satisfaction within yourself. So if anybody else has further thing to say about that, otherwise, Hare Chakravarti, you can go ahead and speak.
Yeah, there was this thing that I was listening. Yesterday on my way to work, I was listening to this radio program they were doing, and a guy was being interviewed. That guy, he's not an Amish, but he said he interviewed some Amish people about prayer. So he was asking some of the Amish people that, do they pray for people? Like, if somebody in their congregation, if somebody in their community, something happens to the person, do they pray for the person that God should help the person? And the guy said, they said, no, we don't pray for people, because who are we to try to, disturb the desire of God? The only form of prayer that we pray for the person is that we pray that the person, God gives the person patience and understanding. He said that is all that is real. That God should give him patience and understanding so that the person can, relate to the desire of God that has come his way. And the way the guy explained it, I was so impressed. I said, wow, this is like a whole Krishna conscious philosophy said in
one sentence.
Said in one, that like in just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That how, if that is the case, then it means they are completely surrendering to the will of the Lord. And that all that they ask from the Lord is that the Lord should give them the patience and the understanding by which they can relate to his desires. And I just want to share this, that even though sometimes devotees, we tend to think that we know everything, but you hear something from another group, from another religious group, and you come to understand that, wow, people really have something to offer.
Yeah. Personally, I think that we were discussing a little bit about this yesterday in our class yesterday. I think probably lots of the devotees in West Africa might not know the Amish people, because I don't think they are there in West Africa. But the Amish people are they're like a denomination in Christendom that demonstrate one of our major needs in devotional service, which is the Varnashram Dharma. They practice it so beautifully. And I admire their way of life. I personally feel it's kind of too austere for me. But that is what like Srila Prabhupada wants us to live our lives. They do not use electricity. They use generators to produce light. They do not ride in cars. They use horses. They do not use machines to cultivate their land. They use the bull to cultivate their land. They live a very simple life. The only thing to us as devotees we that we would not follow is that they are meat eaters. They eat meat. Otherwise, they live a very simple life and have so much trust in God that our philosophy that not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna, they live it. They're a very amazing group. And at a young age, like maybe 16, 18 years old, an 18-year-old boy is already trained to build a house. And they are given the freedom. If you want to live our lifestyle, you are free to live our lifestyle. If you want to go outside our community and live their lifestyle, the world lifestyle, you're also free to do that. And oftentimes, people who leave their community to try to live the life the rest of the world lives, they go back. They go back to live the life they were brought up into. They live very simple life. Very, very simple life. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Hari Chakra Prabhu. Anyone with anything to say? I also find it how interesting Srila Prabhupada made it appear that as devotees, we are not really against any other religious organization. No. If someone doesn't want to chant Hare Krishna, all well and good. Just try to have a relationship with God in whichever faith, tradition, culture you find yourself in. So he gave example of Christians praying to God, give us our daily bread. That is a relationship. He also gave example of Muslims saying, Allahu Akbar, God is great. So there is a relationship, there is recognition that there is a supreme being somewhere. Whether I can see him or I cannot see him, there is a supreme being somewhere. He also talked about God in the heart. Now, God is in our heart. And he is our perfect well-wisher. Oh, beautiful. Hare Krishna, and thank you for, okay, Dr. George, you may unmute and speak.
Yeah, Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for the opportunity. But what I wanted to ask is not directly related to what Srila Prabhupada said, but it's something I've been bothering about. That's why I have to ask. I was listening what the Secretary Prabhu just said. I also tried so many times to listen to other religious groups also. So there is this renounced pastor in Ghana here. He said, what we call karma, or yeah, he made mention that the Hindus, what they call karma, is because of God does not forgive. That is why there is karma. So if God actually forgives, there will not be karma. So I would like you or any senior devotee to do a little bit on this for clarification. I hope you understand my question.
Yeah,
So,
you mean the particular reverend minister or whoever you're saying said that God
yeah,
does not forgive?
yes. Actually, that is why there is karma. Yes.
All right.
So I
Well,
like clarification. Yeah.
devotees may share something about that, but what I think I can say about that is that if we as ordinary human beings feel so much satisfaction in forgiveness, why wouldn't God forgive? And so there is karma, and when we say karma, karma pertains to this material world, which is supervised by Durga, not by Krishna directly. So it's Durga paying us back whatever we sow. What you sow, you reap. That's the philosophy. No, whatever you sow, you reap. But in the case of Krishna, when you put in like $20,000 in the bank and you start taking out from that $20,000, it might get to a point you may have nothing left in the bank. That is how savings work in this material world. However, in the spiritual world, when you save $20,000 in your bank and you start taking out from the 20,000, it never gets depleted. So that is the difference. And that is why whatever little service one does for Krishna, it stays eternally. So that is what I have to say. Salika Prabhu, you may unmute and speak, whether it's in regards to what Dr. George asked or if you have anything else to say.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vasudev, thank you for the coordination. I just wanted to respond to what Dr. George just said. Somebody asked me a question related to that recently. And actually, same opinion he was trying to posit. But Dr. George, let me make you understand this thing about karma. Karma is not a reward of sin, but a fulfillment of our desires. I hope you get that. Karma is not a reward of our sinful activities, but a fulfillment of our desire by God. The living end, God does not interfere in our choices, which is the independence that God gives to us. By our actions, by our thoughts, by our words, we make desires. And those desires translate into what we experience. So if someone, for an example, desires to kill, and God allows him to kill, the reciprocatory or the reaction or the, according to law of nature, the automatic reaction to that act of killing is that the person kills again, just like everything else. If you lick sugar, it's sweet. If you take honey, it is sweet. But if you chew bitter leaf, it's bitter, because that is its nature. So the nature of activity is that it reproduces a reaction. So actually, in a real essence of it, when we say karma, karma is not actually, of course, karma means basically, according to Vedic scriptures, 4 different meanings. Karma could mean action and reactions, and then we sometimes mix all of them together. Action sometimes could mean the reaction of activities. Karma sometimes could mean activities. So it depends on what someone is thinking or is talking about. But basically, karma has a different meaning depending on the context in which it is used. But basically, when somebody puts it or make an assumption that God does not forgive because someone gets the reward of his activity, God actually does not punish any living entity. It is we that punishes ourselves by the choices we make. So God does not punish us. So I summarize it again by saying, I don't want to speak for too long because I have so many senior devotees here, but take it based on the understanding we've had. Karma is not a reward or result of sin. It is the fulfillment of your desire. You desire, and you get what you engage in. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you for sharing that. Shri Salika Prabhu, Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. But okay, he's gone. But I wanted to buttress a little bit. But okay,
Yeah, go
he's
ahead.
gone, so maybe. Okay, but
Go ahead.
okay, then when it's like that, then at what point can we say once sin is forgiven? Is it when the person that you go contrary to, you ask for forgiveness from that person, or you can go to God, or deep down your heart, you can ask for forgiveness and refrain from that act? Is that the point where we can say one sin is being forgiven, or an act that someone perform which he himself felt that is wrong? I hope you understand me.
Yes.
Are you posting the question to me, right?
Okay, probably, yeah. If you are still here, then yeah, I want you to, since you came out with the
Okay,
answer.
taking
That's why.
permission, and then I know there are
So
so
go
many
ahead, yes.
senior devotees here, but I will explain, and maybe perhaps Sima Varam Prabhu is here, Chitan Prima Prabhu is here, and some other senior devotees. But I will share my little realization to your question. So your question is that, so at what point do we see that God has forgiven? Now, let us take it a little bit back for you to be able to understand your question and the answer to it. The living entity is constitutionally fragmental part and parcel of God. And as part of the supreme freedom that God gives, or call it infinite freedom, let me use that word for this context. The infinite freedom that God gives to the living entity, he has the choices to act as he desires. But constitutionally, that desire was given for him to use for surrendering and loving God. I give an example of a woman in the kitchen. The husband marries a new wife. He buys so many utensils in the kitchen, including knife. So if the wife, in the course of seeing so many tools in the kitchen, and decide to take the knife to kill the husband, the husband did not buy the knife for her to kill him. He has bought the knife for a different purpose. So God has given us the ability to desire and to make choices of what we desire for as a supremely loving relationship with us. Now, how we use that freedom and our choice, our desire is in our hands. Now, back to your question. Your question is that, so at what point can one soul say one is forgiven? The living entity actually goes through the ocean of samsara or repeated birth and death based on its activities and that he has performed. But when, due to unimaginable fortune, it becomes fortunate, come in contact with a pure devotee, or it gets, by out of deep suffering, it turns his face back to God. At that moment, if he becomes fortunate and he surrenders to God, or he changes his desire towards God, at that time, he gets the opportunity to get freedom from that ocean of birth and death, or the cycle of karmic reactions. So at that time, you can say, because there are certain contexts or terminology that we have in the Western philosophy that we cannot equate with Vedic philosophy, because the concept of sin in Western theology or Western philosophy is based on the fact that there is one supreme person somewhere who has given a law, and then you must obey that law. And if you don't obey it, like a mundane dictatorship. But that is not God. God never at any time actually have anything to do with all of this. God, because that's why God is said to be love. So in Krishna consciousness, that is why the essence and the focus is always emphasizing on surrendering to God, because God has given all the paraphernalias, but for only one purpose, to love him. So when we use that paraphernalia, that desire, that choices, and all that God has given to us for other purpose, we start going around the ocean of samsara, of repeated birth and death and cycle of karmic restitution. But when by dint of good fortune we come in contact with pure devotee, or we out of deep suffering, because there are several reasons that leads the living entity to surrender to God. But that is not, I don't want to go too deep into that for now. There are so many reasons, or there are some circumstances that leads the living entity to turn back to God. But the fact is that at that moment, when it turns back to God, or he gets the benediction of a pure devotee by the mercy of God, then at that moment, it goes out of that ocean of samsara. That is why Krishna said in Bhagavad-Gita that for those who are engaged in my devotional service, they are under my direct energy. I directly take control of their life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shri Salika Prabhu. Thank you for sharing that. One thing I would like to add to that is Salika Prabhu nicely shared that karma actually means desires fulfilled. I think David also said in Psalm 50 in his prayers that, "Oh God, you who stretches forth thy hand and fulfills each and every one's desires." So when our desires get fulfilled, that means that because we are in this material world, where whatever action has to have a corresponding reaction. So when we have the reaction, then we cannot blame God for it. But like I said, this material world is supervised by Durga, which is different from Krishna, the Supreme Lord. For us as devotees, we know that there is a difference between God and nature, because God is superior to nature. So when God, Krishna himself, was on the planet, when we say forgiveness, forgiveness means somebody does something to you that you have to give him a corresponding reaction to whatever he did. But you let it go. That is forgiveness. And you do not have any animosity towards that person, whatever he said or did. And so we read from the scriptures how Krishna forgave all the insults that Shishupal rained at him. No? And everybody was telling, hey, Shishupal, don't do that, don't do that. He never listened. He went ahead and insulted and insulted and insulted Krishna. And Krishna said, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. I forgive you 99 times. The 100th time, you're going to suffer. And he insulted him the 100th time, and he had his head severed. So that even tells us that Krishna forgives. Again, in the scriptures, it is said that Krishna may choose to forgive anything and everything someone does. But there is one thing Krishna never forgives. That means that Krishna is forgiving. But there is one thing he never forgives. That is offending his devotees. That is the more reason why we all have to be extra careful about Vaishnava Parad. And it's so easy to commit Vaishnava Parad because of familiarity. Now, familiarity, it said, breeds contempt. So when we commit offense to devotees, then we should understand that we're never going to be forgiven. We have to suffer for whatever the offense we committed at the devotee. The repercussion, the reaction is going to come at us. That's all I have to share. Hare Krishna. Anybody has anything else to say? Otherwise, we'll bring the class to an end.
Acharya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead.
Yeah. The little I want to say is that I think Gurudev once explained this issue also. And he says the reactions to our action, they come in different forms. And he says he compared it to someone who is shooting arrows. And he said those arrows that has already been shot out of the bow cannot be stopped. Those arrows that you have now put in the arrow but have not shot it yet, they can be stopped. And those arrows that are in the pouch, which you are yet to bring it out of the pouch and put it in the arrows, they can be stopped. So he says, karma come into this, the reactions to our activities come in this category. So the arrows that have been shot, that is the reaction that is already in emotion now, that is emotion now. It cannot be stopped. But at the same time, you can be given some, that is where the mercy comes in. You can be given some shock absorber so that even though the reaction is coming all right, but you can absorb it very nicely and might not feel the full impact. And that is one aspect of forgiveness. And the crude example that I have sometimes used is like, well, I don't know here in the US, but in Ghana, I remember in the 60s and in the early 70s when we were in school, when you commit offense, there was corporal punishment. They give you cane. So sometimes if you are very close to the school prefect, or you are very close to one teacher or something, then when you commit an offense and you are supposed to be caned, I mean, when the teachers agree that they are supposed to give you maybe 24 lashes, then the prefect that you are very nice with, or the school teacher that you are very nice with, can give you a hint that, hey, it's been agreed that tomorrow we are going to give you guys, each and every one of you, 24 lashes for these offenses that you committed. So be ready for it. And because he gave you a tip-off when you are coming to school, you pack yourself like under your shirt. You put something under your shirt. Pack yourself nicely. So even though the 24 lashes will be given to you, all right, but because you had a prior information, you were ready for it. So you get the 24 lashes, all right, but you don't feel the full impact of the 24 lashes. Unlike the people who did not get the full, the tip off and got ready for it, right? So the idea is the karma that is already in motion, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, they give you some shock absorbers. Even though the thing will happen, it will happen all right, but you will not get the full impact of it because you have been put in a particular position where you can actually absorb the event. And that is why in ordinary sense, we said the karma, the actual reaction has been turned into like a form of temptation that is coming to you. That is also another type of forgiveness. But those ones, the devotee prays that whatever is happening to me now, maybe it should have been more than this, but because of the causeless mercy of Guru and Krishna, it has been reduced. The reason that we pray like that is that all the reaction, the actual full force reaction that is supposed to come to us, is not what we are actually experiencing. Because if we were to experience that full force reaction, then we cannot even bear it. We cannot bear it in any way. That would, come to think of it. If look at the very personalities who were moving with Krishna, the Pandavas, look at what they went through. So compare that to what you are going through now. Then you realize that what you are going through now is completely insignificant. But
thank you for sharing that. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that Krishna really forgives, but because we don't have the understanding, it's like when children are playing and they throw a stone, they throw a stone to like an aluminum wall. Once you throw the stone, it makes noise, and the children are happy hearing that noise. Why are they happy? Because that is what they want to hear. Throw the stone to it and it makes noise. The same stone, when it hits somebody's body, they are not going to hear that noise. And the person might also go ahead and chastise them, or even beat them up. So it's the same stone, but when we throw it out, brings the corresponding reaction to us. So if we have the proper understanding, and that, I think, in my opinion, the more we try to understand the scripture, the more we hear from authoritative sources about the scripture. The scripture gives us full understanding about things that are happening in our everyday life, to the extent that when something is even coming back as a matter of our desire, we don't see it as a reaction. We don't see it as karma. We rather see it as an opportunity to make an advancement in life. And it brought up to what that Amesh thing I was sharing, that if God gives you the required understanding and patience, the required understanding and patience, then you will definitely understand every single thing that happens in your life. That is where you can understand that God really loves you and He's helping you in every step that you make to make progress towards Him. Well, that is my little checking.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Hare Chakra Prabhu. And thank you for bringing up such interesting topic, Dr. George. I see lots of the time people say God does not forgive because they do not realize or recognize the personality of Godhead. But if people understand that God is a person and we are all parts and parcels of God, and if we have a feeling and can feel offended and can forgive, why wouldn't God, the ultimate source of all these feelings that we have also have it. In Bhagavad-Gita, so many places where it describes how oftentimes Krishna forgave. Like Krishna forgave Arjuna so many times. Arjuna was offending Krishna in so many ways, but Krishna forgave him. So, yeah, Krishna does forgive. But like I said, the only time and only reason Krishna does not forgive is when you offend his devotees. It's much easier to offend Krishna himself than to offend his devotees. Just as it's much easier to offend a father than offending his child. So Krishna is a person, is the most sentient being. He is full of life. So the very lives we live here, he also lives it the same way. The only difference is ours is material and his is spiritual. So thanks for the deliberation and discussion. And we hope to see you all again tomorrow. If no one has
Hare
anything
Krishna.
else to say. Oh, Shri Govinda Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead. Hare Krishna, we can hear you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, mine is a similar question to Dr. George's question he just asked. There have been so much deliberation on this very question. So many answers have been given very, very nicely. I have a similar question that how can we know that we are developing love for Krishna? It's the same question like how can we know that the offering we are giving to Krishna was accepted? So much has been said about it. So how can we know that we are developing love for Krishna?
Thank you for that question. So that is also an open question for anyone to answer. But to me, one symptom of knowing whether we truly have love for Krishna is that at some point, from whichever point it was, there was a beginning point where one developed some love for God. And we can only know if that love is real, it's genuine, if it continues growing. If I love Krishna, and because I love Krishna, I wake up in the morning to chant his holy names. If I truly love him, I will continue waking up every morning to do that particular thing, which I believe, I feel, and I know, or as shared or taught by my spiritual master, sages, gurus, that this is what pleases Krishna, and I've been doing it. And if I truly love it, it keeps growing. Because one symptom of true love is that it keeps growing. It doesn't stay the same place, or it doesn't dip. It keeps growing. In other words, if I love chanting Krishna's name, then the number of rounds I chant will increase. And I remember one time when Bhakti Maharaj was giving class in Gita Nagari, and one devotee asked Gurudev, Bhakti Maharaj, she said, yes, Gurudev, uh, I'm just trying to paraphrase, but what she was saying was that because her service had been recognized by the spiritual master, and the spiritual master thanked her and appreciated her for her service. And so she said that, thank you, Gurudev, for giving me this blessing, and I want more of such a blessing. So Bhakti Maharaj laughed. He said, you know what that means, right? Because that means more service. Because the love of Godhead means that you want to do more and more and more. There is no limit. So that is the little thing I can say about that. Anyone wants to share about Sri Govinda Prabhu's question?
Oh, Hare Krishna, Acharya.
Hare Krishna, yes. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it's like in all the scriptures when we say we love God, that all the scriptures emphasize how to demonstrate our love for God. Because we cannot say we love God when we are not even interested in showing our love and appreciation and everything to his part and parcel. So like Jesus was telling his disciples that he who loves me will love one another, right? He says, and he told them that greater love had no man than this, that one lays down his life for his friend. So in other words, he was talking about selflessly giving ourselves to each other. And how do we selflessly give ourselves? By encouraging each and ourselves. Like the more I try to give more Krishna consciousness to you, the more I try to, if I see you are making progress and I have in any way in the position to help you push you ahead, push you forward. That is one aspect of showing my love for God. I give you more. I try to help you with your God conscious activity. I try to help you in every way that will let you become more Krishna conscious. And the more we help others to become Krishna conscious, the more Krishna also bestows Krishna conscious to us. So the more we try to express our love to each other selflessly, the more Krishna will also give us love. So one of the measuring sticks, what do we call it? One of the ways to measure how we are developing love for God is to see how selfless we are becoming to each other, how selfless we are acting towards each other. How ready we are to give ourselves to each other. It's not that when I get up, the way I understand it is like, if you rightly said things about when I chant Krishna's name more and more, but the more I chant Krishna's name, then the more Krishna will give me the ability to make myself available to other people. The more Krishna will inspire me to give myself to others. That is the true test of our love for Krishna. Extending ourselves to each other. And the more we do that, the more we grow. Because Krishna gives us more and more and more. The world is a cycle. It's not a stagnant thing. Guru Maharaj used to say that spiritual life is not like a candle. A candle, when you light a candle, it dwindles, right? But spiritual life, it grows. And how does it grow? Today, I want to extend myself to this devotee. If previously I used to talk about the devotee, behind that devotee, if I used to do all these things, then the more I grow in the love of God, all these things will gradually stop. And now I will become very real with that devotee. I will become real If even he has done something that is not good, that I think is not good, I'm able to confront him in a very peaceful way to let him know that whatever he did was not good. So we should try to learn how to live peacefully together and all that stuff, rather than to bearing grudge to one another. So in my take, what I understand is that the more we are able to selflessly give ourselves and make ourselves available to each other, that will be the one of the most, practical tests to show that we are actually growing in our love for God.
Thank you, Shri Hari Chakra Prabhu. And what's the name? Dr. George, thank you for the questions. In Shri Ishopanishad, Mantra 18, I'm sharing it on the screen. Shri Ishopanishad, Mantra 18. Says, "Oh my Lord, as powerful as fire, oh omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances fallen on the ground at your feet. Oh my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress." So this prayer, the devotee is asking for forgiveness. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says something here. Srila Prabhupada quotes Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, verse 42. Swapata mulam bhajata priyasya tyaktanya bhashvaya hari pareshaha vikarmaya chutpaditam katanchit dunati sarvam hridesani vishtaha. The Lord is so kind to the devotee who is fully surrendered to his lotus feet that even though the devotee sometimes falls into the entanglement of vikarma, acts against the Vedic directions, the Lord at once rectifies such mistakes from within his heart. This is because the devotees are very dear to the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada's a continuation of his purpose. In this mantra of Sri Upanishad, the devotee prays to the Lord to rectify him from within his heart. To err is human. As human beings, we're always going to err at some point. A conditioned soul is very often apt to commit mistakes. And the only remedial measure to take against such unintentional sins is to give oneself up to the lotus feet of the Lord, so that he may guide one to avoid such pitfalls. One key point here, unintentional, not intentional. The Lord takes charge of fully surrendered souls. Thus, all problems are solved simply by surrendering oneself unto the Lord and acting in terms of his directions. Such directions are given to the sincere devotee in two ways. One is by way of the saints, scriptures, and spiritual master. On the other is by way of the Lord himself, who resides within the heart of everyone. Thus, the devotee, fully enlightened with Vedic knowledge, is protected in all respects. Hare Krishna. So, I think that is a very beautiful understanding of whether Krishna forgives or not forgive. And how do we know that Krishna has forgiven us? We feel satisfaction in our hearts. So thank you all. And at this point, we're going to ask the devotees to unmute, and then we chant Hare Krishna to express each and everyone's presence here. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yeah, all glories to the assembled devotees
And
and
check Sarudia, check with us,
Hare Krishna.
I'm pretty much sure tomorrow we're going to have a live speaker tomorrow. So we hope to see you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, Happy New Year to you all. Happy New Year. Hare Krishna.
It's time for Prashad. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That was the